Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Pitch Me a Show with your host, Declan Shrub, a famous film producer and television writer. And this is the show where I have people come in each week and pitch me their idea of a show. Obviously, if you tuned in last week, we had a guy called Jared Stewart pitching a version of Street Sharks, rebooted in a gritty Breaking Bad style where the sharks actually ran the streets. And this week, we've got a guy called Morgan Quinn. Hi, Morgan.
Hey Declan, thanks for having me.
So I understand you're going to pitch me an original piece today?
Yes, yeah, this is something that I've been working on now for close to 2 months.
That's not that long, actually.
Well, I mean, I don't know how it is when you and your writer friends get together, but with me it's a full-time gig. Get up
every day.
I get up every day and I just start working. The cogs start turning at about 6:30 a.m. Just before my first cup of brown.
Okay, great. Well, we don't have a lot of time today, so What's the name of this piece?
This is called Australian Pop Culture, and this is episode 1. And
this is a dramatic show? Or a comedy, tragedy, family show? What game show, reality? What are we looking at?
It's basically a look at Bert Newton's life. Well, this pilot episode is about Bert Newton. And
wow, what a legend.
Well, yeah, we get to see what it was that led him to the stardom and the...
So I'm sensing it's almost like a Bert Newton TV biopic, like some of the big ones that have been on Australian TV.
Yeah, exactly. It's like your Paul Hogan or
Molly Meldrum.
The race car driver was his name? Peter Brock.
Peter Brock? I don't think he had a show.
I think so.
Fascinating stuff. Okay, well, Morgan, you've got 10 minutes to pitch me your show. The time started just then.
So do you want me to pitch it to you? Or because I actually brought the whole script with me, I could just read you the script.
I mean, you could leave it on my desk and I could have someone else on the show.
I don't have a hard copy. I only have a soft copy.
You've only got the digital version on your...
Yeah, on Writer Duet, because my final draft copy expired when it realised that I stole it.
Okay.
Didn't pay for it. Sorry, I should say.
All right, you know what? Let's just read it to me. Let's get into this. Maybe that'll be a great example of your writing, and we can consider you for other projects. So take it away.
Episode 1 of Australian Pop Culture, Bert Newton. Page 1.
Just don't have to do the pages.
Internal. A dimly lit lounge room. Peaceful music plays. Slow pan across room, showing impressive antiques, old armchairs, rare plants and exotic paintings. Slow pan in on one armchair. A dishevelled yet formally dressed man is slumped within. He is asleep, snoring, mouth open, cigarette hanging out. He's dropped the newspaper in his lap. Headline: Nobody reads newspapers anymore. The cigarette drops on him, and he is startled awake, noticing the camera. This is Felix Jones. This is today? All right, great. Yes, welcome. Take a seat. Make yourself at home. Help yourself to some bickies and heroin. Felix gestures to his side table, upon which is a fruit bowl. Within it, delicately arranged, are some bickies and intravenous drug implements. This room, everything in it, has a story behind it. For example, did you know that the very camera which films me as I speak right now belongs to none other than me? We see an interesting-looking plant. And were you aware that this Japanese maple is standing directly in front of a copy of Vladimir Nabokov's novel, A Lolita? Close-up. Felix's hand pulls the book out from behind the plant, and he presents it to the camera, using his other hand to seduce the viewer by gesturing in a complex and seductive manner toward the book. Mid-shot, Felix is shown to be kneeling next to the plant. He pulls out a pipe from his inside jacket pocket, takes some of the soil from the plant, inserts it into the pipe, and lights it as he stands, brushes his knees, and strides across the room. Yes, when I say everything in this room has a story behind it, well, I don't just say shit like that willy-nilly. Like, it's actually true. Fucking cunts. Felix is now in the bathroom. He undoes his trousers and sits on the toilet. Experts have recently shown that despite numerous reports from paranoid schizophrenics, walls actually can't talk. So sometimes, to get a story out of the bastard, you gotta have a yarn with other things. Other human things. It's Australian Pop Culture with your host, me, Felix Jones. A quick title is shown. And today, we meet a man who knows his shit. and is probably covered in it right now. Felix stands up, rolls up his sleeves, and reaches firmly into the toilet. He begins pulling on something, groaning while speaking.
Come on, you sneaky little pervert, out you get. Come on, boy. Out of there, boy.
It's Bert Newton. An audience...
Okay, so Bert
Yep.
Newton is in this.
Oh, yes, so Bert Newton... I know it's taken a while. Bert Newton is in the toilet of Felix Jones's bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
I'm hoping that when this makes it to production...
If...
Bert Newton will audition, because we're not just going to give it to him outright, but, you know,
You'd like him to play himself.
we'd like him to audition to play for himself, and if we think he fits the role.
Then you'll pull him out of a toilet in the first scene.
If we think he fits the role, then he'll get a call back, at which point we will determine if he's right for the toilet.
Okay, continue.
It's Bert Newton. An audience claps meekly as triumphant Sting plays. A title whizzes on and off screen. Bert Newton. Felix is still struggling to pull Bert out of the toilet.
Yeah.
A man is pulled from the toilet covered in Felix's output. He is short, bald, eyebrowless, vaguely rat-like. He looks like he has sold broken goods door to door to vulnerable old people for his entire life.
See, I think that right there, it's going to be tough for Bert Newton to want to play this bastardization of himself.
What specific part do you take umbrage with?
Well, I'm taking umbrage on behalf of Bert that he wouldn't like to be called vaguely rat-like and look like he's sold broken goods door to door
You think
to
he's-
vulnerable old people his whole life.
You think he's overtly rat-like? You think
Yeah.
the problem is that he's...
Yeah. Screenwriting can't be about half measures. It's not vaguely. Either he's rat-like or he's not.
Okay, I'll just edit that in this. Just hold on. Okay, well, I've added those changes in, so...
Great, because it's starting to get good. Let's go. Do you want me to play anyone in this, by the way? Because
Well, I mean,
I would hate to do that.
Bert Newton's just been pulled out of the toilet, so I don't know if you feel like...
Okay, I'll do Bert Newton just so we
Yeah.
can get through this for
Okay.
the episode.
Okay. Covered in Felix's output. He is short, bald, eyebrowless, entirely rat-like.
Mm-hmm.
An audience claps meekly as Sting plays and Bert Newton.
Good to see you, Bert.
G'day, Felix, and welcome to 20 to 1.
Yep. Looks like you're at number 2 right now, Bert. Holds his nose comically.
And you're looking a little flushed yourself, Felix.
Bert flushes the toilet and the two laugh for quite some time, slapping each other on the back, pulling fake punches.
Well, I'd better be off.
Bert puts a foot in the toilet, but Felix stops him.
Wait, Bert. Now, I know you must feel like a bit of a fish out of water.
Quite literally, Felix.
Bert turns to the camera and the lighting is suddenly darker, with sinister music. Bert is almost growling now.
When I was receiving my reported income of $800,000 per annum from the Nine Network, I was at a fiscal high but a spiritual low. I felt that in this dry climate, this unnatural place that we call land, that I was, as you put it, a fish out of water. And so the operations began.
A black and white sequence of shots is shown. At the bottom, a title, Reenactment. An actor playing a young Bert Newton.
Ooh, we could get Matt Newton for that.
You got to read on because
Okay.
there is actually a Matt Newton character in this. I won't ruin it, but I was hoping that Matt Newton would audition for that role. It would be confusing if he was playing a young Bert Newton, but we'll see
Okay.
how we go. You know, you put a stupid wig on him, I'm sure we can get away with it. An actor playing a young Bert, overacting and sometimes failing to ignore the camera, is in a doctor's office who sits behind a desk. Bert is pleading with the doctor.
I pleaded with the most capable doctors in the country to carry out the surgery that would turn me into a bream, but they just never cut the mustard.
Bert presents the doctor with a jar of mustard and a samurai sword. The doctor swings dramatically and full force at the mustard. When the dust has settled, both men see that the mustard has not been cut. Bert puts on his cap, looks disappointed, and leaves the office.
Next, I went to my dog's vet, on his recommendation.
Bert is shown feeding his dog. His dog barks. Bert slowly breaks into a smile.
Good boy.
Bert is in the same office as before, but now the doctor is wearing a moustache which keeps falling off, and has pictures of animals instead of humans around. There's also mustard all over the place. The doctor is holding up a picture of an emu and a koala.
But he could only turn me into a useless, flightless bird or a drop bear.
Bert is seen in a strip club getting a lap dance.
I spent quite some time drowning my sorries as I only wished I could not drown myself. by being a fish.
Bert is homeless, dying in the streets.
I became a wreck, a shadow of my former self until one day it dawned on me.
Bert looks around and notices that a man eating a sausage looks very much like that sausage. A woman eating a salad also looks like that salad which she is devouring. Another man, peeling an orange, has just had part of his orange face fall off onto the ground. A young woman dressed as a juice, she is a mascot for a juice company, hands Bert a flyer. On it, in large font, it says, "You are what you eat."
You know what happened next, Felix.
Of course, this is my favourite part.
We are back in the bathroom now with Bert and Felix.
I used this lid from this can of chickpeas to slice my neck open. Gave myself some gills.
Bert lifts his neck up and shows his flaps.
Ha! Tremendous. You know it's funny.
Felix, whose trousers have been down this entire time, picks them up and does them up. The pair start walking back to the sitting room. Along the way, Bert touches objects, getting shit everywhere.
Every time you tell me that story, there's a part of me that thinks that at the end, you're going to eat a lot of fish and that would somehow transform you into a fish.
Felix pours them both a drink. The pouring goes on and on and on, despite the fact that they are using short glasses for scotch.
Nope, just good old-fashioned self-mutilation. I entered the sewers that same evening, and I've never looked back.
Felix hands Bert his drink.
But tonight, we do just that.
The two clink glasses.
At a different period in your life, this period is before you decided to cut your own throat in the hope of a life in the oceans. I'm talking, of course, about Good Morning Australia.
GMA.
Bert takes a laboured sip from his drink via his gills, coughing slightly and having it dribble from his mouth.
Good Morning Australia with Bert Newton. 14 seasons. Over 3,000 episodes.
Bert, head cocked, resting in the crook of his finger and thumb, blinking slowly, smiling slightly.
I know.
That's over 8,000 hours of television.
Bert, now rubbing his eyes, fatigued.
I know.
That's over 400,000 minutes of
Bert explodes. His drink and feces go everywhere. The camera wobbles, trying to look up at him in time.
I know, I fucking know. Don't you think I know the numbers? Ah, shit. This week on 20 to 1, the top 20 Aussie celebs ranked by time spent on screen. I could have been number 1. I could have done more. It could have been me. It should have been me.
Bert Newton falls to the ground, crying. It's a bit like Oscar Schindler at the end of Schindler's List, except Bert's crisis is arguably far more serious. He's really wailing now.
What happened to you, Mr. Newton? Go on. Speak up now, boy.
Slow pan in on Bert, who is still on the floor, sobbing into the carpet, cradling his chickpea can. He is rocking himself and sucking his thumb.
And I think that's as good a time as any for me to cut you off, because we might have to split this into a two-parter. I really want to see where this is going. So tune in next week for part 2 of Morgan Quinn's script.
Australian Pop Culture, Episode 1, Bert Newton.
Thank you.